Hi, my name is Mindy Hansacker, and I'm an instructor with North Central Iowa Ag in the Classroom.
And my name is Allison Swanson, and I'm also an instructor with North Central Iowa Ag in the Classroom. And today we're going to be talking to you about a lesson plan for 6th through 8th grade students called From Foraging to Farming. And the Common Core standards that we will be talking about with this lesson are reading and language. But students will be able to gain a perspective on how scarcity of resources can affect well-being and how agriculture provides the benefit of a steady, reliable food supply. Then they will be able to participate in a foraging activity while also reading about early hunter-gatherers and how early agriculture used maps to explore how geography affected the development of early civilizations. And in order to introduce the lesson, there's a great video that you can use. It's called How Farming Planted Seeds for the Internet, and it does a great job of explaining to students that our species, Homo sapiens, have been on Earth for approximately 200,000 years, but we have only been farming for a little more than 10,000 years. So for the vast majority of human history, people got their food by hunting and gathering. So as agriculture became more productive, domesticated, and efficient, people were able to produce a surplus of food, and villages developed into civilizations, and cultural advancements and new technologies arose, and of course life expectancy increased. And so after the video, you can ask your students a few questions, including why would some argue that farming is the most important technology, and what did people do before the invention of farming? So next we're going to show you 3 different activities that you can incorporate with this lesson.
So one of the activities that you can do with your students is a foraging activity. And for this activity, there are some different things that you will need. So each student will need a sheet that has the hunter and gather experiences, experience 1 and 2. And each student will need a copy of the Making a Water Cup paper. This is something that you will have them make, or if you need to cut down on time, you could always have just plastic cups available to them. And then prior to the lesson, you will have hidden some wrapped candy and some peanuts, and there needs to be 4 for every student hidden. So you have had those hidden in a spot that you've designated, whether that be your classroom or an outside activity. In this lesson, you're going to review with the students that the basic human needs are food, water, and shelter. For this activity, they are just concentrating on food and water. So they're going to work like hunters and gatherers and obtain their food, which is represented by the peanuts, and then their water, which is represented by the wrapped candies. Okay, and they have made their water cup. So the students will have 12 minutes to find enough food and water to be able to survive. And we're going to explain to the students that because we can survive on longer without food than we can without water, they must find enough water, so 2 pieces of wrapped candy, before they can start collecting food. So then they will spend the 12 minutes trying to find enough food and water to survive. And after the time is up, they will be asked to stop, and they have to stop hunting immediately. After the first search is finished, you're going to go ahead and have them fill out the hunter and gatherer experience number 1. So they're going to mark how many peanuts they found, how many wrapped candies they found, and did they obtain both water and food, check yes or no, and then what they observed during that lesson. Then you're going to discuss with the class some questions. Did all of the students start to work at the same time? Why or why not? Did everyone obtain the same amount of water and food? What else were the students doing during this time? What happened when they did not get started on time? And what happened if they helped someone else? So those are just some questions you can ask to get the conversation started. Then you're going to take a poll to see who survived and who did not. So how many survived but went hungry, how many died, and then how many had excess water and food. So after you've done that discussion, you will repeat the activity with them with the remaining things that are hidden. This time they get 9 minutes to be hunters and gatherers. But during this time, the second time that they do it, you might notice that some students might start stealing from each other. Some students might get upset and stop playing the game. And these are all interactions that you should let take place obviously, unless it gets too out of control, but it will help the students to better understand the purpose of the activity. So then, once the 9 minutes is up, you're going to have them fill out the hunter and gatherer experience number 2 activity sheet, and then you're going to go back and repeat those questions with them to try to get some discussion. Another activity that you can do with your students is the Stone Age Hunter-Gatherers activity. So you are going to start this out by passing out the Stone Age Hunter-Gatherers activity sheet, and the students need to fill out the you part. So they need to read the questions without doing any background knowledge and answer true or false for the you part. Then the students are going to read the first chapter of Ancient Agriculture from Farming to Foraging. You're going to instruct them that while they are reading this, they need to take notes and they need to indicate the pages that they found information on, and they're going to use that to answer the author portion of this Stone Age Hunter-Gatherers activity sheet. So then they're going to go back and answer the questions true or false by what the author says in the book. Once they have completed that, you're going to discuss the activity sheet for each statement, and then tell the students to tell you where they found the answer. Then have the student read the section that answered the statement, and then have them, when they have finished all of this, ask them to write a summary statement answering the prompt at the bottom of their activity sheet. So that's based on what you've learned. Write one complete sentence describing how agriculture influenced the development of ancient civilizations. And then another sheet that you can have them do is the hunter-gatherer think sheet, where they can write at least 5 grammatically correct sentences describing what you have learned about being a hunter-gatherer. So advantages of being a hunter-gatherer, disadvantages, and then other thoughts about hunters and gatherers.
And the third activity that you can do with your students involves geography and ancient civilizations. And here's where the social studies Common Core standard can also come into play with this lesson. Ask students what factors they think might have been important in determining where ancient civilizations developed. And you can discuss the factors that help make an area suitable for agriculture, such as fertile soil, long growing season, regular rainfall, and access to fresh water. So first you can pass out a world map sheet to your students, and you can display one also for the class to see. And you can explain to students that latitude is an important factor in determining climate. The world can be divided into 3 major climate zones based on latitude. And you can see here on the sheet how they're divided into the climate zones. And the 3 different climate zones are the tropical zone, the temperate zone, and the polar zones. You can explain to students that these zones provide a useful starting point for dividing world climates, but there is wide variation within and between these zones. So next you could divide your students into small groups or pairs and hand out the world climate map to them, and also the climate zone think sheet to each group. And you can explain that the map is a more detailed division of the world's climate zones, and students should use this when they use this world climate zone think sheet. When students have finished filling out this sheet, you can ask them to give a short presentation to their peers, stating where they would live if they were the first ones on Earth. This would be their choice on which climate zone they would like to live. They should include reasons why, the 3 top reasons why, which would include moisture, vegetation, and temperature as the reasons for their choice. And last, they will use this Places of Ancient Civilization map, and you can point out the locations that people chose to build ancient civilizations and compare these to the choices that the students made from the climate zone think sheet.
So to wrap up this lesson, you could just talk about how the practice of agriculture arose slowly about 10,000 years ago as people began to cultivate and domesticate plants and animals. And then with the development of agriculture, people were able to settle in one location and produce and store a surplus of food. There is another video that kind of links it all together. It's the Iowa Nice Guy, The Importance of Ag video, and it links the ancient civilization to farming and agriculture today. So it's just a good way to wrap up the lesson.
And you could find the link to this lesson on our website, which is northcentralaiowaagandtheclassroom.org. And please feel free to visit that website for more resources and to contact any one of us if you have any questions on this lesson. Thanks for joining us today.